So what really happens when a property dispute goes completely off the rails? When one party just decides to take the law into their own hands. Well, today we're going to dissect an illegal lockout by digging into a real-world demand letter. We're going to see, step by step, exactly how a legal case gets built when everything goes wrong.
Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the story, we need to get on the same page about the core legal issue here. It's called an illegal self-help eviction, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's when a landlord tries to force a tenant out by, helping themselves, changing the locks, moving their stuff out, you name it, all without a court order. And in California, the law is super clear on this. Civil Code 789.3 says that is a huge no-no. There's a formal process, and if you skip it, you're breaking the law.
So our guide through this whole mess is a formal demand letter that was sent to a company called Coursera Homes, Inc. Now this document, it's not just a strongly worded letter. You can think of it as the blueprint for a lawsuit. It lays out all the facts, all the evidence, and all the financial pain that's coming before they even think about stepping into a courtroom. All right, let's put on our prosecutor hat for a minute. Here's the central accusation. Coursera Homes, Inc. knowingly and deliberately executed an illegal lockout at a property on West 36th Place in Los Angeles. They directly violated the rights of another company, Excalibur Realty, and the letter makes one thing crystal clear. This was no accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a deliberate act, and lucky for us, it left behind a very clear paper trail.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. What's so powerful about this case is how it's built, piece by painful piece, with documented, hard evidence. This is not a he said, she said situation. Not at all. It's about building a factual timeline that is just about impossible to argue with. So let's walk through that evidence trail together.
First up, an LAPD civil standby was called. This is absolutely crucial because it creates an official police record. It proves a dispute over who had the right to be there was already happening. Second, after the police were there, video was taken showing lawful access to the property. Boom, proof of occupancy. And third, they had a whole history of emails and text messages confirming there was an ongoing business relationship. You put those three things together, and you've established a rock-solid baseline. Excalibur Realty had a right to be in that property, and law enforcement knew it.
But the situation didn't just stop at a lockout. Oh no, it gets worse. The demand letter then zooms in on the alleged actions of the management company's agents, two guys named Will and Trevor. And this opens up a whole new can of worms, legally speaking.
Now that is a direct and very serious accusation. The letter claims that these agents didn't just change the locks. They allegedly engaged in verbal threats and defamation, and those aren't just details thrown in for dramatic effect. Each one of those is a separate legal claim that can be pursued in court. It's like pouring gasoline on an already raging legal fire.
And this right here brings us to a really critical legal idea: vicarious liability. In simple terms, it means the company is responsible for what its employees do on the job. So Coursera Homes can't just throw up their hands and say, oh, that was just Will and Trevor going rogue. Nope. Because they were their agents, acting for the company, Coursera Homes is legally on the hook for everything they did. Their liability is now the company's liability. And just when you think it can't get any worse for them, it does. The letter also confirms that a formal complaint was filed with the California Department of Real Estate, the DRE. And these allegations are severe. We're talking about managing property without the right supervision and, this is a big one, commingling funds, basically collecting rent and putting it into personal accounts instead of the legally required trust accounts. This move strategically turns a civil dispute into a professional ethics nightmare, creating another huge pressure point. The penalties here could be anything from losing their license to even a criminal referral. Okay, so we've got the illegal act, the threats, the professional complaint. Now let's follow the money. How does an illegal shortcut like this actually translate into cold, hard cash? Well, as we're about to see, every single day this lockout continued, the bill got higher and higher. This letter makes it painfully clear this was a very, very expensive mistake. See, California law doesn't mess around with this. The Civil Code slaps a penalty of $100 on them for each and every day the lockout continues. You can think of it like a taxi meter that started running the second those locks were changed, and it does not stop until access is fully restored. It's designed to be a painful, accumulating penalty that screams, "Don't do this." But that $100 a day? That's just the appetizer. The claim also tacks on all the lost business income. We're talking management fees they couldn't collect, Airbnb bookings that had to be canceled, plus damages for the harm done to their business reputation. And oh yeah, the cherry on top? They're demanding attorney's fees too.
all of a sudden that fast solution has turned into a massive, incredibly expensive problem.
So what's the off-ramp here? How do they get out of this mess? The letter lays out a clear 3-step demand to settle things. Step 1, give back access to the property immediately. Step 2, write a check for all the daily penalties and every penny of lost income. And Step 3, the threats and the trash talk, it stops now. This is their final chance to make it right before this thing blows up in Superior Court.
Okay, let's take off the prosecutor hat now and switch to our expert advisor hat. Because this entire situation is a huge cautionary tale for any landlord or property manager out there. When it comes to these kinds of disputes, there is a right way to handle it and a very, very wrong way.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. It's a fork in the road. The legal path is called an unlawful detainer. Yeah, it takes time, it has rules, it involves the courts, but it's the law. The illegal path is self-help. Changing locks, taking matters into your own hands. It might feel faster in the moment, but as we've just seen, the risks are absolutely astronomical.
You know, a line from the letter itself really says it all. This is a cold, hard warning that with the mountain of evidence they have, a court judgment isn't just a possibility, it's practically a certainty. The letter is basically saying, we have the receipts, we have you cornered. Settling is the only rational move you have left.
And that really leaves us with one final critical question. In any business, the temptation to move fast and just solve a problem is always there. But when that shortcut means breaking the law, you're not just risking a lawsuit, as this case clearly shows, you could be risking your professional license, your reputation, and your entire business. So you have to ask, is that ever a risk worth taking?